A first for Bratfest. I'm Tanasia Shaw, and I'll tell you how this festival is putting a spotlight on local business owners.
Plus, Meriter Hospital comes up with a plan to deal with the nurses' strike set to begin next week, and how a discovery by a UW scientist leads to the more sustainable production of a chemical used in medicines. You're watching News 3 Now at 5. The world's largest Bratfest is back, and it is underway right now. Bratfest taking place at Alliant Energy Center, and that's where we find our Tanasia Shaw right now. And Tanasia, what can people expect this weekend?
Eric, people can expect a lot, but something that's really cool is that people can expect something new from the Brat Festival today. Like you just said, I am at the Alliant Energy Center, and you know, there's a lot to eat, there's a lot to drink, and there's a lot of music outside, more near Alliance, outside on the outside. But here where I am, there's actually a new marketplace that News 3 Now is sponsoring, and it's all about local business owners. I am with Kim Oldham. How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm good. So first of all, she's one of the many local business owners here. As you can see, I'm decked out in her gear. She gifted me something, so I'm happy, and she's also decked out. Tell me, what's your business name, and tell me, what is it?
I'm Vicki Oldham from Wrap It Ups, and I make all spandex headbands and face and neck gear for all activities.
And then tell me, what makes this different, Vicki?
They're my no-headache headbands. They're all stretchy. You can pre-tie them to fit your head. I make different widths and over 300 prints and colors.
And you're here, you're based here in Madison.
I am. I live in Madison.
So tell me, why are events like this important? You know, you're from Madison, and you're having your event, your pop-up here at Bratfest, which I'm sure you've probably been to before as well.
I have. I've been here many times throughout the years.
And how beneficial is this event? How does it help your business, Vicki? It's okay. It's okay.
Actually, it's great to be home. I do a lot of traveling, so it's nice to be home and have all the people that I know and new customers here in my own town.
Okay, so tell me, do you have a favorite headband? Is it one that you're like, I really know people are going to love this one?
I love them all. It's really hard to tell. I have over 300 to choose from in prints and colors, so it's really hard for me to pick just one.
You know what, Vicki? I love the Flex. The Flex is there. Over 300 headbands to pick from, and that's just one of the businesses here. I seen we have Girl Scout cookies, we have hoodies, we have some treats, we have some like aromatherapy. We have a lot going on, and again, all of this is in the Dane County area. So, you know, while you have your bra and your beer in hand, you can come here and shop. And again, News 3 Now is so proud to sponsor this event and really put a spotlight on local business owners. Eric, I'm going to shop around, so I'm going to send it back to you tonight at 6 p.m. I'm going to talk to some of the festival goers and see how they're liking the festival this year and what they have planned for Memorial Day weekend. Reporting in Madison, Tanasia Shaw.
Always a big event. Tanasia, thank you. Memorial Day, of course, coming up fast, but are the conditions going to stay this pleasant ahead of the holiday? Meteorologist Blaze Keller on the Madison Weather Patio has more.
And I've got some great news. Yes, much like what we saw today, we're just going to copy and paste it into Saturday, Sunday. Towards the end of Memorial Day, a little bit more cloud cover, but temperature-wise, wind condition-wise, it's going to be pretty much like what we experienced today. Sitting in those 60s right now in Dane County, nearing 70 in Sauk City. A wider view shows a lot of us in those 60s, low humidity, light winds, a little bit of shade from some passing clouds, but overall partly sunny conditions. We really could not have asked for a better weather setup as we kick off this busy weekend between Bratfest, farmers markets, and obviously Memorial Day. If you're going to be heading out this evening wanting to enjoy the nice conditions, kicking off your Memorial Day weekend early, 60s through at least 7, and then we'll settle into those 50s for a little bit. But it is going to be another chilly night. We're headed into those upper 30s to low 40s by about 5, 6, 7 o'clock Saturday morning. So some patchy frost may be possible. Now would be the time, if you've got some plans, to either cover them up or, if you can, move them inside. When do the 70s return, and is there any rain on the horizon? We'll take a look in the full forecast.
All right, Blaze, thank you. And if you're heading out on Lake Monona this weekend, the Dane County Sheriff's Office is asking for some help. The search for a man who went missing on the lake last week is still ongoing. If you see or find anything that might help the search, you are urged to call 911 and give as best of a description as possible. The boater went missing after a sailboat he was on capsized. And Madison police are searching for a missing man last seen at Meriter Hospital. Vince Hildestad was discharged from the hospital's emergency room early Thursday morning. Police say he does not have a phone or vehicle with him. Hildestad has Parkinson's disease. It is unknown if he has access to his medication. If you see him, you are asked to call Madison Police. Meritor Hospital says it will remain fully operational during next week's nurses' strike. Nurses at the hospital are set to go on strike starting Tuesday morning through Sunday. Hospital leaders have contracted with travel nurses for the week. Patients and visitors should expect to see picketers near the hospital as well as additional security. Access to the hospital will not be impacted, but partial road closures may occur. In the coming weeks, senators will consider the so-called Big Beautiful Bill Act. And as far as the Wisconsin congressional delegation is concerned, they've all voted along party lines. And this bill is the product of weeks of negotiations in Congress, extending some tax cuts while placing restrictions on certain federal benefits. But the major question, how will this impact Wisconsinites? And we pose that question to Congressman Mark Pocan and Brian Stile.
Well, this is a big, beautiful bill if you're a billionaire. For everyone else, we're all going to pay for it in different ways. Some people, 14 million people, are going to lose their health insurance across the country. 11 million people will lose food assistance.
So a lot of the fear-mongering of those that are saying that this will injure people, I think are missing the point. What we're doing is strengthening the program for those that truly need it, and making sure that we're testing the program so that those individuals that the program is not designed for, that we lift them up off the need of the program and into a good or better paying job.
Well, this is part of a longer conversation with the two congressmen. You can hear more from them this Sunday on 10:30 at 10:30 on For the Record. Trees and oil may have a lot more in common than you might think. And as it turns out, more than a biochemist at UW-Madison thought as well. Our Ellie LaLiberte introduces us to the scientists who discovered a sustainable way to get an in-demand chemical compound.
When you think about products that come from trees, you probably think wood and paper. But what about a chemical compound that's used in medicine? Well, that's exactly what Brian Fox found.
I've always been a kind of a science curious.
Brian Fox is a biochemistry professor at UW-Madison. His work consists of altering the genetic makeup of plants, and he likes a good surprise.
It's exciting.
But the latest surprise,
Parahydroxybenzoate.
the discovery of a chemical compound used in medicine, cosmetic, and food products found from a biochemically engineered poplar tree. And the compound is in high demand.
Parahydroxybenzoate is a very useful chemical for chemical industry.
Usually it's pulled from oil, but this discovery, Fox says, would offer a renewable solution.
You don't need to have an oil well. You don't need to pump up oil. You do have to grow a plant. And trees take a little while to grow. You have to harvest the plant, but this is all part of creating a bioeconomy based on plant materials.
Fox says poplar tree research is a part of a Department of Energy funded project, and his work has used National Institute of Health funding in the past as well. He says it's an investment.
If you don't do the basic research, you don't make the discovery that leads to the applied piece that leads to a broad societal benefit.
Reporting in Madison, Ellie LaLiberte, News 3 Now.
A local nonprofit is celebrating the unofficial start of summer by getting kids in touch with nature. Tomorrow, Rooted is holding its Farm to School Aid concert. The event raises funds for their Farm to School program, which provides hands-on garden education for thousands of students every year. Rooted says with cuts to federal funding, they are counting on the community now more than ever.
So we just really think it's important to teach kids where their food comes from, and then also give them the experience of learning how to grow their own food. There's a lot of research that shows that, and we see this all the time, if kids have a hand in growing food, they're much more likely to try it.
And the Farm to School Aid concert, 2 to 8 p.m. tomorrow, 502 Troy Drive. All proceeds will directly benefit Root's Gardener in Residence program in partnership with the Madison School District. And still ahead at 5, a Georgia teen is released after spending weeks in ICE custody. And President Trump threatens new tariffs, why he says trade talks are not going well with Europe. And a rough close to the week on Wall Street, the Dow falling some 256 points. The Nasdaq with a dive of 188.5, and the S&P 500 loses 39. We'll be right back.
You're watching News 3 Now at 5.
And welcome back. A Georgia teen is finally back home with her family after being in ICE custody for nearly 3 weeks. Jimena Arias Cristobal, who came to the U.S. illegally from Mexico when she was just 4, was detained by ICE after she was stopped by local police for making an improper turn while driving. The charges were later dropped when dash cam footage showed the officer stopped her by mistake.
There's a lot of emotions, happiness, sadness. I'm very happy and very blessed to be back with my family.
The Georgia teen's undocumented father was taken into ICE custody back in April after a separate traffic stop, but was also released. The Department of Homeland Security has previously said both should face consequences for being in the U.S. illegally. President Trump issued a pair of social media posts earlier today threatening new tariffs. The administration also lost a court battle over a new rule targeting Harvard. Erica Brown has more details from the White House.
President Trump says the European Union may not be able to avoid his new 50% tariff beginning June 1st.
I'm not looking for a deal. I mean, we've set the deal. It's at 50%.
The EU has been in trade talks with the U.S., but the president says they're not going well.
We're going to see what happens, but right now it's going on June 1st. And that's the way it is. No, they haven't treated us properly. They haven't treated our country properly.
The president also called out Apple CEO Tim Cook, demanding Apple and others make their smartphones in the U.S. or face a 25% tariff at the end of June.
It would be more. It would be also Samsung and anybody that makes that product. Otherwise, it wouldn't be fair.
Trump was talking about the Apple tariffs
We want to make our cars.
when his iPhone began ringing, interrupting his Q&A with the press.
It's only a congressman.
In the Trump administration's escalating feud with Harvard, a federal judge temporarily blocked the administration from banning foreign students from the university.
Harvard's going to have to change its ways. And so are some others.
The Department of Homeland Security accused Harvard of allowing, quote, anti-American, pro-terrorist agitators to assault Jewish students on campus. Michael Gritzback, a Harvard University student from Germany, says the administration's order has sparked concerns on campus.
It's a real fear and a real threat, so it might happen. Even if we win at court, we do not know if the government will accept that, or if the whole situation will just take too long for us to react in time.
Foreign students make up about a quarter of Harvard's student body. Erica Brown, CBS News, the White House.
And China's foreign ministry condemned the Trump administration, say it was politicizing education. Chinese students make up a quarter of the roughly 1.1 million international students studying here in the United States. Well, the holiday weekend just about here. Pretty nice Friday. Blaze, what can we expect for our Memorial Day weekend?
These similar conditions. I mean, we're essentially just going to copy and paste today's conditions into Saturday, Sunday, further into your Memorial Day. Temperatures will be a little bit warmer as we go throughout the weekend, especially on Sunday. But it's all thanks to a high pressure system that is going to keep us quiet as we get into our holiday weekend. A lot going on, and this high pressure, as I just mentioned, is going to make sure that we're able to do all of the activities we want to, especially getting outside. We may see a stray shower, emphasis on may and stray, as we go into Sunday and then further into Monday. The high pressure system really hasn't allowed a lot of moisture to be moved back overhead. So even if we do get the cloud cover, the air is still relatively dry, especially for this time of year. So we may see some showers just essentially evaporate before those raindrops reach the ground. But as we go further into your Memorial Day, clouds will start to increase as our next chance for more widespread and probably more consistent rain moves in starting later Tuesday, overnight into Wednesday. This is a low pressure system that's going to be riding along the edge of this high pressure system, so it's going to be somewhat weak. We could see some scattered showers and maybe a thunderstorm as we go overnight Tuesday into Wednesday. Not anticipating any severe weather out of this. This could just bring us another, say, quarter to a half an inch of rain, isolated spots, and hopefully along the state line where we find those moderate drought conditions could pick up 3/4 to an inch of beneficial rain by the time this all wraps up later Thursday. What we're also not going to see over the next maybe 2 or so weeks is warmer than average temperatures. We may be seasonal, right where we should be for this time of year, or trending below average by a couple of degrees. This high pressure system has taken a lot of cold air that would otherwise be into parts of Canada and put it overhead because all that warm air is essentially being funneled into Canada. We've got a series of low pressure systems that are going to be moving through parts of the Pacific Northwest, and this high pressure system is not going anywhere. So as winds turn clockwise around that high and counterclockwise around that low, they're going to be pulling up a lot of that warmer, more moist Pacific air, and pushing it into Canada. And because of how this high pressure system is set up, it's then going to funnel back into parts of, say, Maine and northern parts of the Northeast. Additionally, we're going to be drier than average as well. We could see some rain here and there, but compared to what we would normally see for this time of year, it's going to be slightly drier than average. Where is all the moisture going? Into parts of Alaska, parts of Canada, and across the deep south. So over the next, I would say, week to maybe 2 weeks, we're going to be seasonal, maybe slightly cooler than average, and quiet, not anticipating any big severe weather systems as we look to end May and go into the start of June, which could be some good news for folks, could be some bad news if you like thunderstorms, but obviously we're coming off the heels of some severe weather. So I will take quiet, and I think a lot of folks at home will take quiet with no severe weather threats, not only this weekend, but over the next week or so. That rain chance does increase Tuesday night into Wednesday. Temperatures also start to climb back to where we should be for this time of year again, getting to our average of the low 70s, starting maybe as early as Wednesday, but it does look like we will all be in the 70s Thursday through that following weekend when we're expecting a little bit more sunshine.
All right, looks much better, Blaze. Thank you. And still to come at 5, honoring the Americans who died overseas in service to their country, how the Department of Veterans Affairs is bringing their stories closer to home.
You're watching News 3 Now at 5.
On Memorial Day, Americans honor the sacrifice of service members at cemeteries and monuments across the country. But for those whose heroic efforts ended decades ago and overseas, there's a push to bring their stories closer to home. Karen Kafa has the story.
I'm walking towards the grave of Ellen Ainsworth. She's buried here in Plot C.
The final resting place of U.S. Army 2nd Lieutenant Ellen Ainsworth is far from her hometown of Glenwood City, Wisconsin. But the World War II Army nurse still draws visitors at Cicely Rome American Cemetery.
So as we take this sand and rub this across her name, for a family member, it creates this physical and emotional connection.
Cicely Rome American Cemetery, about 40 miles south of Rome, is one of the cemeteries administered by the American Battle Monuments Commission, which maintains monuments to more than 200,000 of the nation's fallen heroes outside of the United States, including the sites like Paris and Normandy.
They are powerful sites of remembrance that are an incredible place to visit and honor the dead of World War I and World War II. However, our audience is the American people, and many Americans will never get the chance to physically journey to one of our cemeteries.
The American Battle Monuments Commission has now partnered with the Department of Veterans Affairs to bring the stories of these service members closer to home, using the VA's Digital Veterans Legacy Memorial.
These American heroes deserve to be remembered and their stories to be told just as any other veteran or service member.
Launched in 2019, VA Program Officer James LaPaglia says the digital database is intended to make the stories of every U.S. veteran more interactive, more vivid, and more accessible.
We wanted to take the cemetery experience beyond the confines of a gate or a cemetery wall.
With their data, the VA has created online memorial pages for more than 10 million U.S. service members in VA and VA grant-funded cemeteries, Department of Defense cemeteries like Arlington National Cemetery, and other sites like the cemeteries abroad. Family members, friends, and the public can submit photos and mementos to populate each page and share a veteran's story. Like Ainsworth's, which ended in February 1944 in Italy. While her hospital was under attack, she moved her patients to safety and died from her own injuries days later. A story Mark Ireland, superintendent of the Cicely Rome American Cemetery, says still inspires.
That idea of, fighting to the very end, not giving up.
And is just one of many to be honored by generations to come. In Washington, I'm Karen Kafa.
And we'll have a final check of your holiday weekend first warn forecast when we come back.
The brain disease that's forcing Billy Joel to stop performing and cancel his concert tour. And we go to South Carolina to meet a new college graduate. It's a story of higher education, a higher calling, and honoring history that only our Steve Hartman can tell on the road. That's tonight on the CBS Evening News.
And coming up at the top of the hour, a Madison mural that many have come to love will soon be gone for good. This is along Monroe Street. Why those connected to it say it has to come down, and reaction from the artist. That and more tonight. Join us for News 3 Now at 6. And finally, it was the inaugural Weenie 500 today. This race, part of the Indianapolis 500's Carb Day festivities. Looks a little funny coming down the front of pit row there. The event marks the first time that all 6 vehicles have been together. Ultimately, the Slaw Dog Wienermobile passed the Chai Dog on the backstretch to win the 2-lap race, crowning the Southeast as the winner. Always got fans showing up at the Brickyard.
At least they were nice drivers. I would have been.
Yeah, I don't know how fast. I wonder how fast those things can go. They look a little slow on the main stretch. 60 miles an hour, our producer said. Taking a little slower than the 230 they hit on the straightaways there. Final look at the forecast. Looking pretty nice out there now.
I mean, for this weekend especially, it may be a little bit cooler than normal, but 60s, low humidity tomorrow, light winds out of the northeast. A mix of partly sunny to mostly sunny conditions. We really lucked out as we're planning our Saturday. 40s to start out, by 60s by the early afternoon. Some morning frost could be possible. And we'll do these similar conditions for Sunday and Monday, your Memorial Day Monday as well. And then the rain moves in, so it really holds off until after the holiday weekend, which is
pretty
nice.
good. Blaze, thank you. And thanks for watching News 3 Now at 5. Coming up now, the CBS Evening News. We'll be back in 30 minutes for News 3 Now at 6. And you can always find us streaming 24/7 at Channel 3000+.